Presented by That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, this is Shonen Jumping the Gun, the show where we set our sights on the first chapter of a manga and decide if it's a misfire or a bullseye.
Let's see how many rounds are in this magazine.
On today's episode of Freelance Manga Police, Sweat and Soap. Welcome, everybody. It is I, your sweaty senpai, Kern the Grog, here with my fragrant friendo, Isekai Sensei Sama Brad. Brad, how you doing? Take a big snoof. This is not a sniff manga. This is a snoof manga. And we are covering on this Freelance Manga Police, Sweat and Soap. I think our first proper seinen, Star Striker Mitch might have been one, but also I don't care.
Yeah, and there wasn't any kind of like saucy bits to that.
Not really. There was just some messed up faces that when I think about them, they haunt me in a way that I don't like. That's not, I tried. It was for my birthday. I was like, here's a little treat for myself. And it's like, oh, let's put that treat back in the jar. We don't want to have that treat.
So I think before we jump into anything here, we should give a somewhat of a content warning. Like, there's nothing explicit. But this is definitely the first thing we've ever covered. Like, there's just straight up, they're getting it on.
This is the first properly saucy thing we've read.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have talked of, like, fan service stuff and other things. But, like, this is the first one. It's like, oh, yeah, this is a seinen for a reason. This would not be in Jump or Jump Plus, right. I don't think.
So I don't think this would be, like, rated R or R18 or whatever the heck guideline
this
you're
would be
going
PG-13.
By, yeah, PG-13, decidedly PG-13.
Yes.
The kind of thing where, yeah, parental guidance.
Parental guidance is suggested. But it's not, like, explicit.
There's a little bit of explicit
no, but
near
like
the
capital
end.
E, yeah, but not like capital E, like explicit.
Right,
it's not too... It's horny, but it's not, like, manga horniness that I usually run into, which is, like, a really specific flavor and vibe of horniness that I admittedly usually do not vibe with.
So, yeah, just know that if you know, I don't think we're going to get into anything crazy in this episode, but if you're going to read it, know that ahead of time.
Understand reading it, and you know what? Understand listening. Some things are going to come out of me.
Maybe don't read it in public.
You could, but be secretive about it.
Keep the volume close to your chest.
Most of it outside of those last bits is conceptual. You have to read it to fully...
Yeah.
It's not like I felt more at all. I know I've definitely read stuff that I was like, please nobody see I'm reading this. And this was not that I read this anywhere but my home.
I mean, and I read plenty of stuff where you just turn the page and all of a sudden there's nipples.
Yeah.
But
I would not call this smut.
No.
But it's cooking on something.
Yeah.
There's something in the air, so to speak.
You can smell it.
I'm beating around the bush. Oh gosh. I'm gonna out myself so hard.
Buckle up, everybody.
Buckle up. We're going to find out. I've said it before. You're going to finally experience it. Kermit's a closet weirdo. A secret freak.
This is a different kind of weird from the regular kind.
Yes, this is a new flavor. No, not new. Whatever. I'm getting distracted. The first chapter for Sweat and Soap dropped June 21st, 2018. And from my understanding, it ended January 7th, 2021. So this is a completed series. Is this our first, like, completed series we've covered that wasn't, like, killed?
Yeah, I'd say so. Because anything else we've covered that
would have been in Jump.
There was a couple things that already flopped.
Yeah,
like I said, kill, but
not to like were ended before they wanted to end.
Yeah, this is a full series.
Yeah, if I understood correctly, there are 97 chapters. That seems like a life, especially for romance.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fully fledged series
happening. Also got a 9-episode anime.
Oh.
Pretty cool.
I'll have to watch that.
I'd be curious. We'll see. And here we are. My Kermit's patented speedrun summary. Is my Tablet X funny? Let it be known that Chapter 1 is called I Need to Smell You Every Day, and shows our two main characters sat very close as our man sniffs our lady. No splash page! I was very surprised we had so many. Even when we left with the last episode, there was still a splash page. In this classic trapping person against the wall position, the man yells at the woman that it's for the good of the company that he is going to come and smell her every day.
It's called a kabedon.
I knew there was a name for it, and I knew you would know it, Senpai. Thank you. It's all too much for her. Cut to earlier. She is Asako Yashima, and she works at Liliadrop? Liliadrop?
Yeah.
Liliadrop Inc., a cosmetics and toiletries company popular with women. She has a sweat problem and got called stinky in school, so now she tries very hard with the owner and such, and not moving, so that never happens again.
So there was an interesting thing. There's a pun with her name.
Yes.
Do you have it written there?
I have it in my brain, because her name is Asako, and it was localized as Stinko.
Oh, they localize it. So the...
I'm assuming it was localized.
Oh, no.
But Japanese people know the word stink.
I saw the translator notes on the version that I was reading.
Oh. I would love to read that.
It's only a single letter difference. So it's Asako versus Aseko.
What does Aseko mean?
It's just an O to an E.
Stinky?
Stinky, sweaty. I forget exactly what it was.
A stinko for Asako is pretty good as a localization. I would call that a mark onto the, maybe not like the Hall of Fame, but that's in like a attaboy.
But apparently the original Japanese was dead on, so.
Yeah. I mean, when you get to name a character anything, you get to prep them with anything you want. In the lobby, she sees the new summer lineup of soaps and stops to look. The man from before, but also that hasn't happened yet, sniffs the air and sniffs her out. He is Kotaro Natori, a planner in product development, and the way Asako smells gives him chills. He'd like to study her scent. She goes running. What a freak. But wait, he's in pursuit and grabs her and cut to where we started. She is freaking out and apologizes for her bad scent. And he apologizes for making her freak out and tells her that her scent is fantastic. He expertly guesses all the products she's wearing, as he was the one who invented them.
Oh, by the way, because I said content warning a bit earlier, there's also sort of a bit of light sexual harassment here.
Yeah.
It's implied.
It never like I thought about that, but I never felt it. But I might have also just been like plugged in, and when you're plugged in, a lot of those things go flying out the window. Yeah. And usually I'm not plugged in, so I'm extra hard about them.
I definitely
hard on them.
Felt it.
Okay.
And they really skirted the line.
They skirt it super hard.
Yeah, and I think they did okay. We'll get into that some more, but just keep in mind that if you're very sensitive to that stuff, this might trigger you.
Yes. He's got to leave for a meeting, but he learns her name and department from her badge and tells her scent is inspiring and might be the key to the next big Lola drop hit. It's for the good of the company. True to his word, he smelled her every day. It's drawn in a kind of lewd, porny way, but also he's amazed by her scent every day. Later, they're eating lunch together, and he asks if it's unpleasant being sniffed every day, as he's noticed she's always so tense. He says he feels guilty about being able to appreciate the scent no one else is, and offers to help in any way he can to return the favor. Asako tells him she's a huge fan of Lila Drop soaps, and that she's always been self-conscious of her sweat smell, and thanks him for creating those things. She describes all the products she uses, the different scents, and how she uses some of them, which gives Kotaro inspiration. A sexy page of Asako in the bath using the soap, wondering how Kotaro's presentation is going. He talks about having to do a presentation for I think it's like the winter lineup or something.
Yeah, I believe so.
The next day at work, she finds Kotaro, and he's a tired husk. I forgot about this when I was writing the summary. I think it's like a weekend has passed.
Yeah.
He is a tired husk. He put his all into making the presentation of the weekend and is drained and wants to smell Asako, which he does so for a while, then feels better. He offers Asako a bunch of samples he had at home, some of which were never released. Kotaro finally notices Asako has the same scent he's been chasing since the first time and talks about how your feelings can shape your scent, and this is her happy smell. Asako talks about how she spent so much of her life terrified of people noticing how she smelled and how nice this is in a parting way. Kotaro hopes this is not the end. He wants more. The touch becomes more sensual, and then Asako pushes him away and runs off while Kotaro chides himself for, quote, letting the scent go to his head. Asako is confused about what to do, and then overhears some coworkers talking about a man smelling and groping women on the train.
I think...
Did I miss something?
Well, I think you should be a bit more explicit about what happened there.
See, this is a situation we've swapped roles because usually I'm the stickler on things, and I'm, like I stated, I'm plugged in now, so I'm like floating. Which is, again, this is why I constantly throw rocks at my own position.
It's very important because
it is.
Well, you mentioned like the sniffing all throughout the last week was like seemed to be pretty sensual. Like he's like right up next to her and like in her neck and everything. Like
very much invading her personal space.
This
hand is going underneath leg to skirt, I believe is what it is.
He went up her skirt.
Not fully.
Just a bit.
Enough. Just enough to cross a line.
Yeah.
Yes.
He definitely crossed the line.
Yes.
And she reacted to that as
one would expect.
Yeah.
Very valid in her reaction.
Yeah.
Yep. Brad, genuinely, thank you for being on that, because like I said, like I'm plugged in right now.
I will give the I don't know if give credit to the mangaka or whoever, but like I do feel like this was really realistic, that specific thing, because they had been in intimate proximity for a whole week, and that can rile up a guy. And so that escalation makes sense. The pushing the line, skirting the line that he was
fine,
doing.
but there's always the double-loaded thing of, even if you're in a different department, you're more tenured, you have some power over me in the situation.
Oh, yeah.
Could I, am I even allowed to say no, and would it be heard? And it was never spoken, so it's like, let me finish the summary. Sure. We'll get into it. There's a lot to talk about here. She overhears some coworkers talking about a man smelling and groping women on the train. She thinks Kotaro isn't like that, but still a little scared at that moment. Awkward office moments in passing and apology emails abound as time passes. Kotaro really wants to make things right. Now Asako is heading home on the train, still thinking about Kotaro, but then a man starts sniffing her and attempts to touch her. But then Kotaro shows up to shove him away and protect Asako. Kotaro had fallen the train to apologizing to her, owning up that is as creepy as the groper on the train. He talks about a connection the two have that he doesn't want to lose, and says he's sorry and asks for another chance. The two go back to her place, and sexy time ensues.
It escalated
I know it
so
escalates
quickly.
Because I think it's been building. I think they've been both feeling it, and it just finally, like, we're not at work anymore, and the bubble burst. Like, we got over the weird, hi, here's an emotional thing before we finish the summary. I find usually when, like, a big emotional bubble pops, like, we won't state it directly, but yes. I well, as the metaphor I've been using, I am plugged in then. If I understood correctly, Asako is a virgin?
That's what they made it sound like.
Now that you had a different translation, I'd have been curious what they said. It was like, because it didn't seem important, so I was like, I guess it's in because it's, he talks about, it's like, I'm so glad, like, I'm, like, I don't want anybody else to smell this kind of scent. Like, it's like a sensual moment. Cut to tomorrow at work, and the new winter release from Kotaro's presentation is out. He got the idea from Asako's usage of the products. We end with Kotaro saying it doesn't smell like Asako, as that is a smell only for him. Brad, I really like this manga.
Really?
I'm a sick little freak, and I like this manga. I
couldn't tell. It's the fact that you were just like so dialed in. You skipped over a bunch of.
Brad, do you understand why I constantly attack my position when I come down on things and going, if the tables were turned, I would not be saying these things. Yeah. And here we are. The turns have tabled, and here is me being a hypocrite.
I'll tell you what. I should have figured this out ahead of time. From like the tags that I saw and like the cover art and everything. But I was really taken aback when just all of a sudden they're on her bed and she's got her clothes halfway off, and I'm like,
I was surprised.
Holy shit.
It's like, it's chapter what? Like, because I mean, I'm used, even if I've read a lot of these romances, I'm coming up against, I'm like, well, they're going to play this out for a while.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like, I thought we could just at least resolve it and maybe there might be a relationship, but that we like, I think that's the sending touch a little bit. But it's like, I liked it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm excited to read chapter 2 because chapter 1 ends so abruptly to that, where it's like, now we get to play, well, where are we now? Was that just a fling? What's going on? Where does this go? What coworkers do we meet? Because we didn't meet anybody.
I actually have another series that I think you should read for this block.
Okay.
And part of the reason is because it's got a lot of similarities to this series.
Yeah, but what's its flavor? Because the mix in here, again, I like to be honest when I'm being a sick little freak, is that I went to K-Manga to read A Sign of Affection, our prior episode to this, in the romance retrieval arc, which we are still in, And I saw that was one that had been suggested by a friend of the show, Maxie B. It was up on their list. And it was like one of the top rated ones on K-Manga. It was in their top 10. And I saw the tags on it, and I went, oh, hey. Hey. There's something here that's, yes.
Yeah. Well, so the other one that I'm going to suggest is also an office romance.
Okay. I can dig an office romance. Done right.
The key for that one...
The kink in that one.
I think maybe this one is probably going to do the same thing, but the key for that one is it has to stay secret.
Oh, Brad, we're...
So stay tuned for that episode.
Sick little freak. The sick little puppy.
But in a very similar way, it's like, okay, these are two adults.
Yep.
They are attracted to each other.
Yep.
They are going to get together. And you know what? Now they're doing adult things.
Yep.
Because we don't have to beat around the bush for such a long time because they're adults.
But
and
where
they
does
can...
it go? But my question is, where does it go then? I don't know. Like, I'm so, like, part of this is, like, I had a great time and I'm so off my normal reservation that but it's, like, it's exciting.
But that's the thing is...
Because it has to run for how many, 97 chapters?
You're not going to have the will they, won't they back and forth stuff. Although you still can get some an arc where they're fighting and they're going to break up.
Yeah.
But you can explore so much more of their lives because we got past the screwing around part at the beginning where but I don't want to confess because what if we're just friends and I don't want to be
that. No, get to it. Build
right.
I want to see the relationship being built.
And I don't mind that.
Or what they're doing at work.
But you don't want that all the time.
No.
You want a good variety of things, which is why I read hundreds of different things because it's variety.
Yeah. But no, I like what it's around. I like the characters. I like the art. I think art can do a lot for me in these relationship ones, and I think because this one's drawn more cartoony than like A Sign of Affection and a lot of other romances are drawn very like pastoral. Like it's very like there's a very pretty boy look to things, and like you know me, I don't like that.
Oh God, you're gonna love this other one.
And this is drawn.
We're gonna have to do this one. We're gonna have to do it next.
Yeah, sure, fine. We'll find whatever the next. I'll pull from one of the other recommendation lists that we got from when I said we were going to do this arc, and it'll keep going for as long as we want to because it's our show. But probably not too long, because I'm sure people could get tired of romance stuff. We'll mix it in.
Hey, Heroin Addiction is our best performing show.
It is. We can spend a little time. If Shonen Jump will give me a reprieve a while from horror, Exorcist manga.
That's true.
I say that, but I still the episode will have come out by the time you're hearing this. Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi. I'm a couple weeks into it, and I'm just very sad. We're getting distracted. We have to talk about Sweat and Soap.
I wouldn't mind seeing Murakami and Queen together.
Oh, is that the boy and the girl from that one?
Yeah, except that's not a girl.
What?
That's not a girl.
It's not?
No.
Do we know that, or you just...
We didn't know it in chapter 1.
Oh.
That should... Yeah, that episode will have come out by the time you're hearing this.
Back and reread.
So,
gosh.
So you will hear my editor note.
Okay. But yes, this. Yeah, I don't know what directions to go into without being a degenerate. I had a good time with it.
I think we can be degenerate for this one.
It skirts the line in just like the right spot that I really like. Its particular flavor of the smell thing. Again, to be entirely honest, to show you the insides of my glass house, there's a reason my persona's a skunk. It's almost like this is connected to things. Again. I try to be cards on the table with this stuff so people don't have to guess at it. They can just call me that instead of...
I get it. I wouldn't say I'm particularly attracted to smells, but I like my wife's smells.
It's concepts, brain concepts. And it's not... That's something to this of these other romances is that even if there's like with other ones we've seen, or literally I was thinking when we were driving and the Love After World Domination theme came on, where it's like the, oh my gosh, she has boob, she wear a bikini, but it's not like sexual, but specifically it's not sensual. And I think that's what this has that the other ones either can't because they're for teenagers or don't, and or teenagers don't care. Like, that's the thing. Like, the way they're drawn, or it's not the most, like, it's not just like, boing, here's a boob shot. And it's not just
you
like...
You do get one, though.
You do. I guess there's her in the bath, but like I float over that.
Well, at the end when they're in bed.
True, yeah, but like that's a moment. Like it's not. It's got what you want, but it's not gratuitous. I think like it's hitting both in what it's about and how it goes about it. At least with this first chapter, it is like directly in my sweet spot of just the right amount of everything, of sensualness and all of it. And it's just, but it's not like. Again, like we've read stuff that's like horny. How many things do you read where it's like a harem of slaves and all this, and it's like this one and this one and this one?
There's a lot.
Like that's I don't want that.
Yeah.
But this where it feels like everything's balanced and it's kind of a symbiotic relationship, which is also a thing, and it's just like I want to see where it goes. Like I'm genuinely like I don't know how I would feel about it if it had those stuff, but it wasn't as like delicately like balanced and put together as it was. Again, I say that now because I said I'm plugged in, so I kind of phased. I thought in my brain these things, but my heart just said fuck off.
It's interesting you call
it
time. Delicate and balanced, because I would say I'm not going to refute I think the idea that you have there, but the actual execution is not delicate. And I think that's the point.
No, but I think the author is thinking about it.
Yeah.
I think the author knows the implications, because when you read it back, or I'm not like in the middle of it and feeling it, it's like, this looks, this is not like, and I think some of that is the art and the way he is drawn, where he's silly at times. He is thinking more about the products and the smell than like, I want to touch you, even though he's feeling that inside. And like, I appreciate that it's not just like, oh, booba.
Yeah.
Like, he's Brad, I felt seen reading this manga. Let me just say that. I can have that happen for once.
Like I said, the smell stuff is not particularly what I'm into. I do enjoy the smells that my wife has.
Yeah.
That said, I was also into this in a horny way.
Yeah.
I could dig it.
It's the whole thing of like, I have a thing about me that drives people away, and then here's the one person who comes through and goes, no, that's not bad, that's not even a negative, that's like a super plus, and it's like, that's what you want.
Yeah.
That's hot.
And I think just the nature of like someone who is not used to intimacy because of those various reasons, to be very suddenly in this situation. She's very flustered. She doesn't know how to handle it. She does get overwhelmed, and
I think he checks in, doesn't he?
What?
He checks in with her during it at the end. He's not just into business. He's that's why I think you learn she's a virgin, because I think he's like, oh, you're kind of still tense, even though you actively allowed me into your home.
Do you want to continue?
Like, I appreciate him checking in. Like, I appreciate like.
Well, and especially because he learned. He like, I lost control.
He was just like,
and caused a bad situation.
Literally in that singular moment, as soon as she leaves, he's like, oh, I fucked up. That was, and not in like later he has to think about it. It's like in that instant moment, and it's like, that feels good to have.
Yeah. Although good for him to be able to come back from that in just days, rather than like, oh, I fucked up. Well, too bad. We're done.
I mean, he said he wanted to make it right. I like him. I like both of our protagonists. I want to see this like reading this was such a good thing of like, I don't hate love. I want them to be together, and it's not a shonen. Like, it just needed to be a thing that I liked. He just needed to be a silly man, but like in a good way.
I don't hate love. I just hate most other people's love.
I hate Hallmark love. I hate mushy love.
Yeah. I don't.
It's not real. It's fake. It's a greeting card. It's two-dimensional.
Most love, I guess.
I mean, one of us is happier than the other. I think it's clear who that is. So, like, I'm not going to say that my way of approaching the world is good or healthy for my well-being, but this is my situation, and this is how I live my life. So,
yeah. I will say I don't know. I had a hard time envisioning, or rather imagining, because envision, that would be sight, imagining what the various scents actually were. And I think that's probably just, I don't...
You want a scratch and sniff version of it?
Well,
like
yeah.
Bound?
Yeah, sort of. I'm not someone who can actively remember scents, really. It, I have the same thing everybody does where like you smell something and you have a memory attached to it. But if someone says, oh, pine scent and it's got lemon in it and blah, 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 like I can't imagine that smell.
Yeah.
So as they're describing these various smells that are going on here, I'm like, okay, sure.
I think that's just setting the stage of like, this is what we do. So with that, where do you think this is going to go? Because like,
because they got together already.
Yeah, I'm out in the wilderness. I'm assuming we're going to meet coworkers. We have to, because like we didn't meet anybody. Like coworkers exist. We see them from afar, but they have like NPC face. They're not real yet.
I think we
have to meet more people.
There'll be some of that where she's still sort of shunned by other people, and she's going to feel bad about that, but he's going to lift her up from it.
I think she's going to get her groove. I think she's going to I think also she's just I think she is overly sensitive to it because this is a thing that happened to her in grade school, and I think she's still self-conscious, but I don't think it's as bad as she thinks it is.
Yeah, probably. Or it just might be a hentai the rest of the time.
I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to have sexy times sometimes, but not all the time. I want the drama. I want the relationship. I want the give and take of what's going on and the personal growth.
Here's the real question for where do we think this is going to go? Do you think that we will see bare nipples at any point?
We didn't in the first chapter when we were given a very clear opportunity to do so.
I'm going to say no because of that. Because
they can't, because then it would have to be censored. It's in Japan, right?
No, nipples are fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're right.
Nothing below the waist.
It made me think of hi, welcome back to One Piece chat. The Drock show One Piece thing where he talks to his mom about One Piece. They've like brought up multiple times now, like boob chat keeps happening somehow, which I'm sure is a fun topic between a man and his mother. They roll with it a lot better than I would. But like how the way that like Oda's just getting more and more blatant with like drawing a boob but just not drawing the nipple, and it's like if you could like police sketch all the different times you saw part of Nami's boob, she just doesn't have a nipple by virtue of this. It's like they just like Barbie dolled her, and it's like, sure, fine, whatever, dude, draw your wife. I don't care. I think
a lot of it depends on where it's being published.
Yeah, like obviously in Shonen Jump you can, but it's funny that it's like show more boob, but the moment there's nipple is when it's like we've crossed a line. Yeah. So you just like, you just make the nipple just impossibly out of sight.
It's so
and
weird,
it's fine. Show as much boob as you want.
There's been multiple series where I'm just reading it, and there's some fan service here and there, but like it's all very straightforward, and it's a straightforward series. And then just all of a sudden, there's like naked boobs, and it's just like what?
I was kind of surprised by that with like the bat scene. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know how to feel about this. Like, I already know what kind of manga this is, but we've seen that we saw that in other things we read in Jump, where it's just like, oh, okay.
I'll tell you what, I felt really good about it because she's a fully grown adult woman and not a teenager.
True, that is a very good point.
And most of the time when I see bath scenes, it's a bunch of teenagers,
and it's really uncomfortable.
And so I was like, yes, this is. I can look at this and be like, oh, she's good looking. She's got a really nice body. Look, those boobs are great. And not feel like a creep.
That's a good way to put it. I don't know. I think my point is like, amidst everything else, it felt too sexual and not sensual. So I was just like, what do I do with this? I'm just going to keep moving. This isn't what This is interesting. Okay. I think that's that segment. That went for a while. From this, what is one thing you hope, our new segment we're trying to try out that we have not named yet, what's the thing you hope sticks around, and what's the thing you hope goes, or I guess the alternative to that one is what's something you hope gets added in?
I already said nipples. No, scratch and sniff. That would be a good one.
You want scratch and sniff?
Yeah. I don't think we can do that online.
People have tried to sell digital things. I know there was that article that went around like a couple months ago at some insane company trying to sell a sniff, like a smell machine for video games, and it's like, no, The fuck's wrong with you? No.
I mean, I think it's the what they're trying to do is fine. It's just
nobody wants that.
It's going to be impossible to have a consumer device to do that because it's just it doesn't translate well into, hey, this is a thing you should buy.
I'm playing a war game. I love smelling hot lead and blood and death and
honestly,
heat.
Getting the sulfur fumes from fired ammunition, that would be really immersive.
Yeah, I don't want that. Sometimes I just want to play my video games.
I'd play that.
Yeah, play it without smelling it.
So, yeah, something I want to keep around. I hope they don't lose the awkwardness too fast.
Yep.
They've obviously they've gone all in.
Well, they haven't gone all in.
But I'd like to see some more like, hey, are we actually going to be like a thing?
But not for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope, agreed. I agree with that. Like, I don't want it to just go like over here, we're just at full tilt all the time. Like, I like the little, like, the dance of it. I love the dance.
And of course, something that I hope goes away is her just general low self-esteem stuff.
Okay.
But I don't know that that's really something I want to go away so much as I think this is where the series will go.
Yeah. I mean, I said I hope they get to move not too slow, but I hope it's like we're not already at full tilt and we stay there.
Yeah.
I hope we get to some dance a little bit. I hope now that we've gotten over that, we remove the like feelings of assault or harassment bits in there. I hope I don't have to think about that anymore. I think we won't. I don't think we will.
Well, not from him anyway.
No.
They didn't catch that pervert.
No, he'll be back. This is the I feel like now's the time to word drop our friend described as the gentleman pervert. I feel like that's what our male lead is. Compared to that train groper, he is the gentleman pervert.
You listen to this, Bobo? Just for you.
Just for you, Bobo. And something I'd like to add, I've said already, coworkers. I want more characters.
Well,
we
yeah.
need more.
You have to have more characters.
It's interesting because so many of the times for these first chapters, you get somebody appearing in passing, see A Sign of Affection, where you met Rin-chan, and we like got to semi-meet the cafe owner. But here there's like, again, there are other humans, but like nobody's named. Nobody else exists meaningfully.
Right.
And I think that means they will because they've been drawn. So somebody will exist somewhere with a name and be important.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do the male lead's coworkers in product development feel about him being a weird a snoofer? Not a sniffer, he's a snoofer.
I mean, apparently he's really good at his job, so
He's really good at snoofing.
there is a such thing as a super smeller.
There is. In the way there's a super taster. I don't know if they're the same thing or not.
I wonder if they're related because
I would
your
think
sense
they're
of
related.
taste is related to
Really
your sense
connected
of
to your
smell.
sense of smell, right? Yeah, see?
By the way, who recommended this?
Maxie B, friend of the show, Maxie B recommended Sweat and Soap, and it shot to the top of the list when I went to go find A Sign of Affection and saw Smell Kink, and I went, ooh.
How is it? How does Maxie know you so well that quickly?
I mean, they suggested, 6 different things.
That's true.
And I only caught it because, again, I saw the tags on K-Manga just scrolling by, and I went, that's a word that tingles a part of my brain. But no, thank you, Maxie B, I think. But yeah, how do we feel about it?
I think I'm gonna say amazing.
I'm gonna say, I'm surprised you're saying amazing. I thought you were just give great. I'm gonna say amazing. I'm going to figure out how to fucking pay money on K-Manga to keep reading this as long as the couple next free chapters don't disappoint me.
I still have points there, so I can use them.
Yeah.
Listen, I am a horny man.
Sometimes dad and dad non-gender need their time. Sometimes something's for us.
This poked me in the spot that I like to be poked in, so I like this.
This is weird. I've never felt like I had to defend my position on the show before from other people who aren't here. I don't think anybody's gonna do it. I think I'm just paranoid. I'm extra sensitive about this stuff.
I'm pretty unapologetic.
You are very unapologetic.
Degenerate.
It's
in
a
lot
part of
ways.
you that I respect because I'm bad at doing that.
But just to be clear, this isn't actually degenerate.
No,
It's just sort of a kink.
correct. It's fetishy, but it's not like degenerate fetishiness,
Right.
which I'm sure exists in manga. I'm sure I've attempted to read them before.
Yeah.
This one I would say is fairly... It's nice as a weird human being. It's nice to see more out there fetish stuff making its way into more standard romances. That we don't have to go like full-on freaking 50 Shades of Grey
Yeah.
BDSM to get the little tastes of these things, because it doesn't have to be that intense
Right.
to work it in here. It's normal. Mostly.
I think the key...
We're not reading a thing about feet.
The key thing here that makes this amazing, because obviously the horniness and everything is done well,
Yes.
and I like that.
It's
but
balanced,
also,
a nicely made cocktail. It's nicely...
right, it's...
The alcohol to non-alcohol content is nicely balanced.
There's a level of romance to it.
Yes!
It skews horny, but there's also some romance, and so I think just like... If it was just horny or just romance, I'd probably be like, great. But like it blends it in a really good way, and I think that puts it just higher up.
The sensual nature of you have a special smell, and it's just for me. There's just something, especially when you're self-conscious about that. But he does it. It's not in a way that is like controlling with it. It's like, mwah, it's chef's kiss. It's adorable.
Yeah.
I think we both said we keep reading to pay money. I believe that. That's the end. Wow. I don't know if we've gushed this hard about a manga since, like, Astro Baby. But also, we've never talked about a manga like this before.
Well, I mean, there's stuff that I really, really like.
Yes, but we, on Shonen Jumping the Gun, freelance manga police or otherwise, have not gushed this much.
Yeah, not mutually.
From chapter 1, just so together. A
couple episodes that haven't come out yet that I'm really hyped on. Series that I'm hyped on. You've already heard them, so
you've already heard them. So it's that thing in the summary where it's like, it's the guy from before, but he's from now because before was later, which we were about to get to. It's very Spaceballs. When is that? Now. When will we get there? Soon. But with that, thank you for listening, everybody. Brad, hit me with those plugs.
Well, as always, we want to thank Sugoi Mart for partnering with us. Sugoi Mart's a retailer of Japanese snacks, drinks, toys, and merch, and they've got a lot of cool stuff you can't get outside Japan. Our listeners can click the link in the description or use code APR15 at checkout to get 15% off their first order, which also helps us out. And of course, we want to hear from you, so let us know what you think on social media, which you can find all the links for on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. And don't forget to check out our Patreon, where supporters get perks like getting to vote on which series we'll cover on heroin addiction, as well as getting the high-quality stereo version of the podcast early, and also bonus episodes. And of course, we got to shout out our patrons. At our Reincarnator tier, we've got Moon and Cake Dwarf. At our Commoner tier, we've got Kill Hour and Rena. Thanks so much to all our patrons.
Thank you, everybody, once again for listening. And everybody, snoof your loved ones. Is this our first like properly saucy manga that we've covered? Like obviously other ones have had fan service, but none of them have been like part of the reason you are here genuinely is for titillation to an extent.
Yeah. Soda Sopa.
Sweat and soap. On today's episode of Freelance Manga Police, Sweat and Soap. Snoof will always be the fetishy version of sniffing ever since. Do you know in Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, have you ever seen anything from that?
I mean, I've played it.
Oh, then you know. When you're fighting Hooktail in the first chapter, she goes, I'll pay you 1 billion coins, and you go, no. And then she goes, I'll give you a really rare badge, and you go, no. And the last one is, you can smell my feet. Give him a big snoof.
I don't remember that, but...
Oh. I admittedly played it somewhat recently, so it's fresh in the brain, but also just I have weird brain, so